Hello, Darren Rawlings for Emerging Civil War. Now, we're doing a special little video series for you that we're calling ECW Authors Get Illustrated. Over the last half year or so, several of our authors, contributors, and good friends have contributed volumes to a series published by Casemate Publishing in collaboration with Savas Beatie called Casemate Illustrated. And joining me at this time is Ted Savas. Welcome, Ted.
Hey, Darren. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So the first, just explain to everyone who doesn't know, who are Casemate Illustrated?
Yeah, so I run Savas Beatie, and Savas Beatie is distributed by Casemate. Casemate's run by a fellow named David Farnsworth. We've been friends for, I don't know, 30 years. Did business with a couple different companies. And so when David started Casemate back in the early 2000s, we decided that when we started Savas Beatie, we would distribute with Casemate. So over the years, we've done a lot of books sort of, together. I'll pass material on to him that might not be quite suited for us and maybe is better for Casemate. Casemate will send some manuscripts to us and say, this is probably better as a Savas Beatie book than a Casemate book. So we work very closely together. We're good friends, good business relationship. It's a good thing. And so that's sort of how our relationship started.
Mm-hmm. And again, Casemate Illustrated is quite a sort of famous brand of book, isn't it? The way they lay them out and that. So just explain that.
Yeah, so that just started. David came to me. We talk every couple of weeks. We'll have a business meeting and he and I'll chat. And he was talking about wanting to do these illustrated books on particular topics. And some of them were in the Civil War. Well, that's sort of our sort of domain, and David sort of knows that. And so we were talking about that. And I said, well, I can understand why you'd want to do it. It's a little different than what we do. And I said, but if we're going to do those, why don't you let me help pick the topics and pick the authors so we can pull in Savas Beatie authors and let them get a higher profile, a little more experience doing certain things, make a little money. And then we can also advertise Savas Beatie books that they've done in the back that are related to that topic. So it's a win-win for everybody. And that way, I can sort of time what's happening with Casemate. It doesn't interrupt any of our flow, doesn't duplicate titles we might have in production, that sort of thing. And that's kind of how that came about.
Okay, cool. And so how did you go about choosing the subjects and the authors? And I mean, I know you've got a good pool of authors there, let's be honest.
Yeah, well, it's a work for hire. And so it's a set rate. They get a rate, and it's a very fair rate. And then I act as agent, basically, and sort of shepherd the process through. And we want to make sure if they're going to take their time that, Casemate is able to sell the book. So we pick higher profile topics. Gettysburg Day 1, Day 2, Day 3, those are in the mix. I think Day 1 has come out already. Revolutionary War stuff like Brandywine or the Philadelphia campaign, that kind of thing. So we pick bigger topics. Shiloh has been one. The Overland campaign, I think, has been another one. Topics that have foot traffic, visitor centers, a high profile media in terms of search, good metadata tags that can be found everywhere. And then we lock them in that way and test them out and see how they do.
Excellent. And again, some fantastic topics, like you said. So again, how did you bring these guys into the project? So you reach out to them and...
Yeah, so I find the guys that I think would be good for these, who I know can write, know can research, and can gather the photos and the illustrations together because they're heavily illustrated. They're very well designed, right? They're nicely designed, very attractive books. They're paperback with real heavy covers, little oversized, coated paper. They're full color. They're very nice. So I, present what they are to the authors, and I say, look, here's what you do. Here's what the word count is. Here's how many photos, and we have sort of a style guide. And then we just go forward with that, and they say yes or no, and we talk about the schedule, and Casemate agrees, and we sign a contract, and off we go.
Excellent. And okay, so like you said, you only chose a couple of the topics on this occasion, but is there going to be more in the pipeline in the future with Casemate itself and the?
Oh yeah, we're working on a lot of them. I mean, we're working on Indian War stuff. Some more Revolutionary War material, some more Civil War material. I'd like to do one on the U.S.-Mexican War, and I think we've talked about that a few times, and I think that's fascinating. It's still really understudied. So yeah, there's a whole slew of things coming. Now they're doing some World War I stuff and World War II stuff, and I think they're doing some Napoleonic stuff. So it's a broad niche for them. And for us, it's a little narrower because I don't have all those different authors because we have a different focus with Savas Beatie.
Excellent. And like you said, the Mexican War is heavily linked to the Civil War. So, I mean, that is exciting.
Yeah, it is, and I still don't think that most Civil War authors fully grasp the impact that the Mexican War had on their officer of choice or their flavor of the day, and that needs to be studied and linked, I think, more closely.
Well, brilliant. Excellent. Right. Well, anyway, again, ladies and gentlemen, you can get all of these Casemate books from www.casemate.com. And all that is left to say is, Ted, thank you very much for giving up your time coming to talk to us about Casemate Illustrated.
It's going to cost you a drink next time I see you.
Well, that if that is the price, then I'm willing to pay it. And all that is left to say is we'll see you online and on the battlefield.